revolt. Why do I say that? And against who? Well, as I've said, I start each video with that because the U.S.A. is in a revolting quagmire by assassinations, murder, cover-up, robbery, grand theft, immorality, because of J.Edgar Hoover, assassin, cover-up artist, grand theft robber, George W.Bush Sr. assassination, attempted murder, another assassination, fellow lived, and well, these are the true facts. I don't write them. These are the true facts. I have 4 programs, and this program is by Preacher Doc. So I think I should get a little more formal. Now, as Preacher Doc, of course, a main basis is telling the truth. And the truth is that I have to now speak from the bloody pulpit, fire and brimstone. Years ago, the preacher come out west and start preaching, or a man would come out west and become a preacher and give those fire and brimstone speeches. And the big difference is he would, as the congregation was there, he'd say, "You're sinners, you're all sinners." I don't think that's correct. They came there in their best attire, praying. They could be actually saved. You say, you mean there's people on earth that are actually saved, have obtained paradise? Absolutely. You see, when Christ performed a miracle, he would say, your faith. And so they would get salvation, and he would make a cripple walk, a deaf hear, a mute speak, a blind see, and there were at least 3 that had deceased, dead, especially Lazarus, and he brought him back to life. And these are true facts by eyewitnesses. The witnesses there were mainly Roman soldiers, I think, were in charge, and their doctors, lawyers, those of the high other religions and politicians and all the people of the town. There's maybe a 1,000 plus or minus eyewitnesses, besides his disciples, who then he made his apostles to preach the truth of his divinity. So I have to then say we have to revolt against the revolting situation that Hooverists and Bushes this country is in a quagmire, a pigsty, really, you think, by morality. That's revolting against the laws of God and man, our Constitution, Bill of Rights and civil rights. That's revolting. We have to revolt against that revolting quagmire we're in. You understand? How? The ballot box. Now let's get to what the true situation is. They start from the top. At the top we have an illegal president. That's the true fact. Was not born in the United States. There are at least 100 real good videos proving that. Then J.Edgar Hoover was the power behind the assassination of President Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Reverend Martin Luther King, George Wallace, about half attempts on yours truly. Absolutely 1,000 now. You get a conspiracy that of Hoover, the fellow they talk about his morality, man, but he was the power behind the assassinations and was in charge of the cover-up. So, how does the U.S. really look on the world stage? Let's look at it in reality. To put it in sort of humorous terms, it must be like the act of the 3 blind mice. The illegal president makes you believe he doesn't see anything. The vice president makes you believe he doesn't hear anything. And whoever is the director of the FBI doesn't say anything. So the Hooveristic rats that are running around committing genocide, they're all running around, and it's like a 3-ring comedy circus. And there's a song something like, it's a Barnum and Bailey world, but it's a Barnum and Bailey U.S.A. just as phony as it can be. It has, the situation now is where I think about 75% of the American people don't trust the government anymore. And what's happening, I think, now in this lame duck administration is some of the rats are running off the sinking ship. If one or more of, say, the top 10 countries just says, we don't want your paper money, we want gold instead, the U.S. would be absolutely bankrupt. If one or more says, we want the money of our credit paid now, the U.S. would be bankrupt, especially if they had to pay in gold. If all those who put gold here say we want our gold back, the U.S. would be bankrupt because that gold they can't seem to find, or they always keep stalling about giving it back. You understand? The U.S. from the top down, to have an illegal president that they must have had in place, the deals to control him, is corrupt. So, on the world stage, how long are these other nations going to put up with one that constantly would hit special people republics about human rights? Well, they're practicing genocide, assassinations, murders, cover-ups. And their money, they just print it with no real backing of it. You understand? the U.S. has lost during the Bush administration, especially the Bush's administration. They have lost. In the top 10, I don't think they're even third anymore, really. As far as as far as being respected, they're not in the top 10. It's like I say, they look at them like a comedy of don't see, don't hear, can't say anything while they practice. Their propaganda says about it, their democracy, and others are not. Others are about human rights, while they have the worst in U.S. history, probably, with Doc Castellano, his father and his family, and Doc Castellano and his family, what he has achieved, the crimes against him, and the enormous wealth they forcibly stolen from him. I think I think for sure is the worst in U.S. history. You understand? So they have this, but they say, hey, the American people don't run their government, so it's up to the American people to be informed, but they have control of these editors who say, my position is our newspapers, all newspapers, it's our motto. We tell the facts, because in order to democracy, they have to know the facts. Well, why don't they publicize the true facts? Because they can't or won't, because they're Hooverists themselves. All they care about is their job and money. So some of the rats leaving a sinking ship, if their job then doesn't materialize, or it goes for a while and then fizzles out, when they are hard pressed for money, they'll say, hey, especially the first one that scoops these true facts, hey, I'll make money. And after all, they're doing it for money, so they will make money to then leak or bring forth the true facts. And also another thing is, there are more and more that are what they call whistleblowers exposing the true facts. After all, they know they can't really trust them. If you would genocided off a member of your best man's family, and you've been trying to kill him and genocide him off now, what chance have I got if I'm just a rat running around being paid to give him a bad time? You won't do that to my family and me if you aren't doing it now. You understand? So on the world stage, the U.S. is a horrendous quagmire of Hooverism. And what is Hooverism? It's following faggots, CSs. They're following faggot CSs. And as a preacher, I have the right and duty to present the truth. Because if I could get some of my money, I would buy or build a church and then have my church and parish. But they don't want that. It's supposed to be the land of the free, and that they say they're religious. It was proven during Bush Jr. that they had the religion set up as a facade. I think that came out, and it's after about 1 year, as they were going for the election, for the re-election. The election itself was framed, and in the second election, they did it all by tablets this time. They were supposed to be honest, but the company that does the tablets was a Hooverist, put those tablet machines the way they wanted to. So these are the true facts. They have got to come to their senses and say, wow, if we could quietly settle with Doc Castellano, DBA Doc CPHD Company, also known as Preacher Doc, also known as 009. They say they got away with genocide, murder, and grand theft worse than U.S. history, or one of the worst. Let's not forget that they criticize other countries about believing in God. Are they going to outlive God? So let's be realistic. In a lawsuit, and for them giving me treatment worse, or like Guantanamo Bay, which a couple of times I survived, and now I'm not in a wheelchair, but they crippled me up. Try to get a lawyer to go after him for 3 lawsuits, each $3 million. Couldn't get one lawyer that would do it because they got control of the courts. They'll go to court against a company that has done something wrong, or for the government against a company. Oh, but against the Hoovers in charge, oh, none of them will do that. Well, democracy. They got control of the law, the courts, the press. So, not only if you win a court decision, there's what's called punitive damages. I think it's 3 times what you're suing for. So when I say that I'd be forced to accept $10 million of my money that they stole, my money, it's not theirs, it's mine. And technically, Xerox is still mine. 3 lawsuits of $3 million each, in which at least one of them has triple damages. You're looking at $18 million. So when they run around now and say, I'm following them to get money, no, I'm in my property and they walk at a exaggerated diagonal in front of me, as though like I'm keeping track of it. I don't care what they do. I honestly don't. I don't try to pay attention to them, but they walk them right in front of me, and I'm trying to get money from them. No, you start off by having the crimes against me, and you start off by going where I am. So you're following me. You're following faggot CSs. And that's what you are. So maybe they're saying, hey, $10 million, he's not too sure. Well, let's start then maybe adding penalties and interest. There's also interest. But that's where this preacher is. I must, not could or should, I must obtain justice, honor of what I've achieved world class in several disciplines, and financial compensation. And of course I say to those who realize that these are the true facts, take a polygraph lie detector test on a public stage with editors there. One stipulation: you must print the results. Come on, you criminally insane, following faggot Hoovers. Take my challenge. To the ones who believe, and of course, if anybody helps, I say, I highly appreciate and thank you.